With that, we do have David on the line, if you'd like to jump on with another call.
Yeah, let's do it. Hello, David.
Hello, V and Christy. Thank you for taking the call.
Yeah, absolutely. What can we do for you tonight?
Well, I've got it all going for me. I'm a Yankee living in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
I'm pansexual, and I'm into polyamory and a few kinks.
Nice.
So, and I'm trying to find resources to meet people here. Mm-hmm. And it's not really easy.
Yeah, I believe that. And, you know, I think to a certain extent, no matter how great our matching apps and our communication tools and all of these things become, that there is a certain amount of like beaconing. We've talked a number of times before about how Austin really is that for much of Texas, that I don't know, there aren't good survey numbers or et cetera to discuss how many like specifically queer or poly or kinky folks there are in Austin versus the rest of the state. But I do know that there's a high concentration because people flood into these places and that's not necessarily an option for you. So I definitely hear that. But that said, what have you done in terms of, kind of the first common places, things like Meetup and FetLife and things like that?
Yeah, I've got memberships on both of those. It's just kind of hard to meet people on there if they don't click on you or if they aren't into the same kinks.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. And FetLife in particular can be for many a incredible community and for others feel like a awkward, scary meat market. And I think I've honestly had both experiences myself personally. So I definitely hear that. Another thing that comes to mind for me or that's been instrumental for me is Facebook groups. I think I'm probably one of those people that would have given up on Facebook the same way I did on MySpace a couple of years back if it wasn't for that opportunity to connect with folks in my community in that way and honestly to meet a ton of incredibly wonderful people. I mean, some of the folks that we've had on this very show are people that are instrumental in maintaining those communities. Particularly I want to mention Lily Bacon and some of the episodes that she's done talking about how to find those resources, how to find those secret or hidden Facebook groups and how to find other types of resources. So I might point you towards those episodes of this show, but otherwise I recognize that it can be a challenge, and it most often comes down to finding that first in.
Right.
Not everybody in any community knows everybody else in any community. I mean, that's obviously not the way it works, but usually if you're on Tinder, if you're on Hinge, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, I mean, wherever it is that you're going, if you can just find one person, they can often show you the ropes of a new city or a new area.
Yeah. That's the hard part, meeting that first person.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say dating apps really can be used for this. It's another kind of often overlooked opportunity because that does give you a chance to sort of meet the first one in a lot of ways.
Right. Also, something you might look at, and I don't know exactly where you live, so this might be my city privilege showing.
Sure.
But a lot of times they will have certain places that they hang out, or just a place that is known to be, that's the spot where everybody goes and just has drinks or whatever.
Yeah.
So the way you can usually find that is to to keep an eye out for maybe kind of subversive or queer events happening at a space. And if that space is putting on that kind of event, it's likely that those people are going to be more accepting and probably have that in. So I don't know how many spaces there are like that in your area.
But if there's a bar that's always having like burlesque shows or always having, that
if
that
they have
kind of
RuPaul's Drag Race on every week,
Yeah.
that's a good sign that maybe there's a certain type of crowd there that could give you that in.
Yeah. Well,
And
that sounds like a good start.
Yeah, and all of these things are directions to start walking towards, but I don't want to let you go without just acknowledging that it can be a real struggle, and that I hear a little bit of that defeat in your voice, and I don't dismiss it. Certainly, I have known people that can like step off the airplane, walk out of the airport, and all of a sudden find, a dozen people that have the exact same super rare and specific kink that they have. People who are gregarious and that just surround themselves with all kinds of exciting and interesting folks. I myself am not somebody who's going to be great at like going to a burlesque show, lingering in the back and chatting somebody up or trying to get into that community. And I recognize how difficult that can be. So I just want to sort of encourage your courage and compliment your bravery as you're going through this process of trying to make the world around you feel more like home.
Yeah. It's not easy moving from the north to the south.
I'm sure.
Yeah, as somebody who loves where I live and has loved living in the South my whole life, I also can only imagine the culture shock and the strain and struggle.
I went from Portland, Oregon to Columbus, Ohio, and that was culture shock. Yeah. They were like, oh, we have a gay bar. I was like...
The one?
They're like, oh, yes, it's very fun. I was like, okay.
Yeah. It is the best gay. It is much gay. You should go to our bar.
Exactly. Yeah, so I feel that for sure.
Yeah, there's not one of those even near here.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I think there's one within 300 miles.
Well, and I recognize that North Carolina is going to have some of the harshest culture and regulations and just oppression of folks in these sort of marginalized groups. And so I recognize that even putting yourself out there, starting up a Tinder profile that has a picture of your face and a description of, polyamory or pansexual or these different things, could potentially be a dangerous thing to do. I don't know that that's the circumstance for you, and I want to encourage you to be brave, but to also recognize that if you don't feel comfortable, there may be a good reason for that. And so to think critically about whether those fears are rational or irrational.
Yeah. Well, it's also a bit harder because I'm one of those people who is regularly attracted to trans women.
Mm-hmm.
And so not
there's
having
a little bit of a war.
Openness of that here.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a war on trans women in North Carolina. I mean, nationally, internationally, really, but a lot of it has been centered around that area for a couple of years now. So we absolutely wish you luck, and I'd love to hear from anybody out in the audience that has maybe spent some time in the area, that knows all the great groups that could be that first connection. If you're in North Carolina and you have some thoughts that I don't know of or haven't thought of or haven't spent time around, please shoot us an email, drop in a YouTube comment. I mean, get that word out there because this is important.
Well, thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, absolutely. And we wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for being brave and for giving us a call. Take care.
Yep. You too. Bye.
Bye.
There's always going to be certain limitations in the sense of, you can't just walk into a bar and expect to find the love of your life that also loves your favorite TV show, loves your favorite sports team, that loves your favorite sexual position and has all of your kinks. I mean, that's reality. And as our desires get more specific or as our orientation leads us to minority groups, that struggle is going to be intensified, but it doesn't need to be this way.
Yeah.
I mean, on a planet of 7 billion people, there is somebody who matches your gender preferences, your sexuality, who is a good fit for you. But
I mean, like a soulmate.
Well, I don't know about that. Not just one. Not just one. There is no the one, as Dan Savage says. There's always the person that we're willing to round up to one.
Right.
And so I do believe that there are plenty of people that would be a good fit for Dave, that he'd be able to round up, but many of them may be in hiding.
Right, exactly.
They're not comfortable expressing themselves, or they've frankly fled the area that he's in because they've been told to by politicians, by actual like torch wielding marches. I mean, there's a lot to be concerned about.